anyone else notice that Shin fights a lot like Anakin, counterattacking while leveraging her physical strength to break her opponent's defense and create openings? That right there is classic Djem-so, the 5th form of lightsaber combat and the one that Anakin specializes in. Coincidence? I'm not sure. Now that it's been confirmed that Baylan is former Jedi and that he knew Anakin, I almost feel as if this is on purpose. That perhaps he thinks highly of Anakin's renowned skill with the saber and has decided to teach that style to his apprentice. So let's get into the fight. Immediately you can see the Djem-so principles at play. Notice that Shin does not engage the fight. Instead, she lets Sabine make the first move. The goal is to repel her attack and press the assault when the opponent is on the back foot. So as soon as she blocks Sabine's attack, she pushes her back, breaking Sabine's posture and forcing her onto the back foot. From there, Shin launches her counter offense, overwhelming Sabine with a flurry of heavy strength attacks. Once Sabine is able to regain her footing, Shin does not overextend and keep pressing. Instead, she stays principled and awaits her next counter-attacking opportunity. Sabine, being clearly inexperienced in fighting against this kind of style, once again gives Shin exactly what she wants, ending up receiving yet another brutal counter sequence of attacks. In this sequence, you can really see the strength difference between the two of them. Every heavy blow that Sabine has to block bounces her back. Receiving these strikes will feel like trying to catch a freight train for Sabine, very reminiscent of Anakin's attacks. You can even also see it in the blade locks. Whenever this happens in Star Wars, it's basically an arm wrestle. Whoever is physically strongest will win. But it's also terrible for the person who's on the losing end of that exchange. For one, if you don't manage to escape, then the blades will be pushed into you and you will receive very serious damage, if not just straight up die then and there. But also, every second you spend trying to defend that from happening, it drains your stamina, meaning that even if you do manage to get out of the blade lock, you will be significantly more tired than you were before you entered it. Therefore, you'll be more prone to making mistakes and be less able to defend yourself. As such, Shin is more than happy just to chill in this position. She doesn't have to finish it if she feels she is unable to. The onus is on Sabine to escape before it's too late, and escape is what she does manage to do, but not cleanly. Almost losing her head here, they scramble and Shin just once again shows Sabine the levels, evading Sabine's haymaker and throwing her on her ass. At this point, Sabine obviously knows that she is not as skilled as her opponent. Desperately, she wildly throws everything and the kitchen sink at Shin. At this point, we even see a bit of Makashi coming out of Shin, the 2nd form of lightsaber combat that Dooku is most iconic for using. You see, one of the drawbacks of Djem-so is it doesn't teach great footwork. As such, you can end up being quite rigid, and that can be exploited by more agile opponents. Anakin solved this problem by mixing in some foundations of Ataru, the acrobatic form that he learned before switching to Djem-so. It's also the form that Ahsoka uses. Now, Makashi also teaches great footwork with its more elegant fencing-like style. Go look at the way Dooku moves in fights and you'll see what I mean. I think Shin chose to address the weaknesses of Djem-so by pairing it with the foundations of Makashi, using that to great effect by cleanly dodging Sabine's wild attacks in something akin to a matador leading a bull. Then, when she sees her moment, she knocks Sabine back with another heavy strike. At this point, it's just effortless. Sabine is tiring and can't keep blocking strikes with this much weight behind them. Now, this next blade lock is one of the few things I have to complain about in this fight. There's just no way the fight should have continued past this point. This position is terrible. We can see that Shin clearly is much stronger than Sabine is. So, when sprawled on her back like this, with only one arm to hold her saber with, Sabine should not be able to defend the blade lock at all. Shin should have just easily been able to push the sabers into Sabine and remove her head. It is checkmate. There is nothing that Sabine should have been able to do in this position. However, by the grace of some kind of divine intervention, she does manage to get out, only then to be knocked back on her ass, of course, further showing the difference in strength, how tired Sabine is, and subsequently why it should have been impossible for her to get out of that blade lock. But it is what it is. I'll allow one oversight in what is otherwise a pretty great duel. From here on out, it's just domination. Sabine simply is just not equipped to fight a seasoned Djem-so user, barely being able to defend herself, and eventually Shin finds a window to land the coup de grace. Now, here comes my second complaint. Yes, while I do think it's completely believable that Sabine survives being stabbed here, as she did get immediate good medical attention and wasn't just left to bleed out. So, Personally, my suspense of disbelief did remain intact. However, the fact remains that Shin could and probably should have been able to kill Sabine here. For one, she certainly did not have to end it with just a stab. From that position, she could have easily bisected Sabine by slashing down or upward. Just stabbing Sabine actually left Shin in more danger than necessary, as it gave Sabine a chance to slash back at Shin afterwards. Shin could have actually once again bisected Sabine here after avoiding those desperate last slashes. It would have taken her all of like 5 seconds to do, and there's no way that Ahsoka could have caught up to her in time. Also, it's just a bit of a worrying trend at the moment that people keep getting stabbed by lightsabers and surviving in Disney Star Wars. One thing that was always really great about Star Wars classically is that it didn't matter if you were the main character or some random enemy. If you made a big mistake like this, you got punished, and severely so even. Knowing that helps inject a lot of tension into these fights for the audience. We don't want to lose that. So here's my solution to tighten up the ending of this fight and make it just that extra bit believable. Once Shin parries Sabine here, have her cut off the hand that Sabine is holding the lightsaber with. That feels like much more of a punishing consequence for losing this duel. Severing a hand is also symbolically significant in Star Wars. It means that the opponent was much more skilled than you were and that you lost in dominant fashion, as cleanly severing a hand is actually harder and takes more skill than just straight up killing your opponent. Given that Shin has clearly proved herself to be levels above Sabine in this fight, that outcome would make perfect sense. Then either have Ahsoka be much closer by having her already deployed from her ship and running towards them, or have her shoot at Shin from the ship when approaching them. In both cases, it forces Shin away from Sabine and makes it much more believable that she couldn't finish the job. By doing this, we leave no loose ends and there is no question of if Sabine should have survived this fight. You may be thinking, well, they can't cut off her hand as she's needed for whatever plot they're cooking up, but actually, you'd be wrong. Since Sabine is both a war hero of Lothal and is friends with Hera, a general of the Republic, she could almost certainly get a mechanical hand just like Luke or Anakin. Either the Lothal government could gift it to her for her service, or Hera could pull some strings with the New Republic and get one for her close friend, allowing Sabine to suffer grave consequences for losing this fight, and that could even also serve as extra motivation for her to start training again. But importantly, this outcome also enables her to still participate in the rest of the story. What did you guys think of the fight? I hope I was able to enhance your enjoyment of it, or at the very least entertain. Let me know your opinions on both the fight and anything else Ahsoka related. For me personally, I'm actually really excited for the rest of the show, and for the first time in a long while, I actually have hope for a Star Wars project under Disney. So please do not forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. I'm on a mission to hit 1,000 subscribers before the end of this year, for that is one of the goals I set for myself in 2023. So with that being said, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye bye.